Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining the webcast today. My name is Steve Gaynor, and I'm the Community Coordinator for SocialBizUG.org. On behalf of our sponsor, IBM, and our very own SocialBizUG.org, I'd like to welcome everyone to this community webcast. Now, before we get started with the presentation, I'd like to go over a few logistics for the event. Today's webcast will be recorded, and I will post the webcast replay to the site within 2 to 3 business days. I try to get it up the next day for everyone, so please check back soon. If you have questions throughout the presentation, we encourage you to submit them. Please use the webcast chat interface for your questions. To do this, you'll see a tab with a bubble to the right of the presentation screen on your display. Click the chat bubble, select Q&A from the drop-down list, type your question, and press send. We will reserve time at the end of the webcast for the Q&A. And now I'd like to introduce today's speakers. First up, we have a name I'll bet a lot of you know, Mr. LouisBenitez. Luis is a Senior Product Manager for IBM Connections and has helped customers embark on their social business transformation since 2007. Luis has been at IBM for 13 years, specializing in the collaboration space. Next up, we have Mr. David Brooks. David is the lead architect for IBM Connections and is responsible for overall product architecture and strategy. David has worked on Connections since its inception, always with a primary focus on collaboration patterns and content discovery. We also have today Mr. Eric Silva and Ms. Michelle Ulrich, both market segment managers for the IBM Connections platform. And now it's time to get this show on the road. Please join me, LouisBenitez, David Brooks, Eric Silva, and Michelle Ulrich in their presentation of What's New in IBM Connections, IBM Connections Files on Cloud, and Upgrades to Communities. Folks, please take it away.
Thank you, Steve. And if you want to pass control over here. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Hopefully Australia it wouldn't be an option because it's going to be very late for you. But if you're calling from Australia, good evening. So wanted to take you through some of the updates that we've done to the IBM Connections platform. We want to, throw back Thursday, so we want to give you a quick reminder of what we have in market already. So we'll cover briefly, what we shipped with Connections 5.0 in the middle of last year, and then give you an update of as to all the cool new features that are available today in our cloud. Right, so we've adopted this cloud-first model, which allows us to deploy features pretty quickly to our servers and get you guys to play with those. So as we get going, like Steve said, feel free to post your questions to the chat room, and we'll tackle them at the end of the session here. I'm also joined by Renee Schimmer, one of our PMs for Connections and the Connections Files offering. So hopefully we have the right people here to answer all of your questions. One of the things that I just want to remind folks of is, where we stand in terms of, the Analyst Reports and so forth. So this slide has pretty much the latest and greatest as of today. I'm proud to say that when you look at across the various industry analysts that are out there, they all place us as leaders in their respective reports. So, for example, in the Forrester Wave, there's 2 different waves that are out there, one for file sync and share, and the other one is for enterprise social software. And in both of them, we came out as a leader. For the Gartner MQ, we've been a leader for the last 6 years, and we'll see what happens this year. Hopefully, we'll remain there. IDC, we've been the market share leader for the last 5 years in a row, and we also came up as the worldwide and European enterprise social network leader, so that was pretty cool. There was 3 different reports there. Aragon and Ovum both, again, have us as a leader in both their the Aragon Globe and the Ovum reports for enterprise social software and file sync and share. So file sync and share is something that I guess I've mentioned a bunch of times already. So that's one of the focus areas for today that we want to dive on. I'm also proud to say that our ecosystem continues to grow. And in fact, this slide was created by one of our partners, so it's not even mine. So thank you to Comunardo for creating this one. So whether you're looking for solutions that augment what Connections can do, most likely the solution is there already. So we have our catalog that you can go out and take a look at all the different solutions that are out there. So whether it's project management, business applications, integration with other social networks, gamification, etc. I'm pretty sure that whatever use case you're trying to handle, one of our partners has a solution for you. All right, so like I said, let's quickly cover what's available in 5 in case you've been on vacation or sabbatical for the last couple of months here. So 5.0 introduced a bunch of new capabilities. I think, if I counted correctly, over 100 new features. I'm not going to cover all of those, but just kind of focus on the major capabilities there. One of them was focus around external user collaboration. And one of the patterns that, or one of the trends that we're seeing is that more and more companies are engaging with, contractors or partners or even their own customers. They're feeling more and more comfortable in terms of bringing those external users into a single collaboration space. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a secure way for you to bring in external users. So if you want to create a team site, a community where you bring in your customers and together you work on documents, or you want to crowdsource ideas, or whatever the case may be, you could do that. So in this particular example here, we're uploading a file, and if you want to share it with one of the guests in the cloud, you would just enter their email address, and off you go. Very straightforward. And that would handle the use case where maybe you have a 40 megabyte file or a 100 megabyte file, and the last thing you want to do is email that file, right? So instead you just want to put it here and give people a central place to come and get it and collaborate together. Now, maybe files is not enough, right? So maybe, like I said, you want to create a team site, and so you could do that as well. So now with the release of Connections 5, you can create what's called an externally accessible community, and then in the community, add as many people as you want, whether internal or external. And the external members, they have the same permissions that a regular internal member would have, right? So if internal members are allowed to create to-dos or participate in polls and surveys, then the external people will be able to do the same thing. So the community owner has the permission to control that. The other thing is we did a major rehaul of our mobile apps. So we've been really focused on our native applications, which are available at no additional cost, unlike some of our competitors. And not only did we do a major user experience redesign, if you will, but we also wanted to optimize the flow for those mobile workers. So, for example, on the left-hand side, you see that we now have what we call personalized navigation. So maybe you want to constantly focus on communities and files. Well, you can get rid of all the other menu items and then bring community and files, make it very prominent in your navigation, so you have the control of how you want to use the system. We've also added the ability to favorite communities or favorite wikis or blogs or whatever the case may be, so you always have one-tap access to the content that you're looking for. Speaking of one-tap access, one of the patterns that we saw of mobile workers was that when you're on the go, you're typically looking to work on several things that are top of mind, right? And so what we're doing now is we have a history view, which you see on the right-hand side, and this history view kind of keeps track of where you are within the system, and you have a quick way to then jump back and forth, right? So you can go from a community to a to-do item to a status update from somebody, and again, just one tap. So make it very simple to pivot and focus on what you need to work on. The other thing that we added here is file sync. So file sync is something that I personally have wanted to do for a while. I was kind of hoping that, it's 2015 today, so I was kind of hoping that in 2015 there will be Wi-Fi everywhere, and it was going to be pervasive. But as we all know, there's still many times where you're on the go or a customer site and there's just no way to have a network connection. So what we've done here is we've updated our mobile and desktop plugins so you can take a file, synchronize that down to your desktop, and work with the file when you're offline. And then when you connect, all your changes are automatically replicated up to the server. There's a lot of smart things that we do. So, for example, on mobile, the last thing that you want, right, is an app where it's constantly asking the server, hey, has there been any changes to this 40 megabyte presentation? And if there has been, the last thing you want to do is download those 40 megabytes down over the wire, especially if you don't have a unlimited data plan. So we've done cool things where we can determine, automatically when there's new updates available to files, and we only synchronize the actual portions of the file that changed, right? So if you modify only one slide out of the 400 slides that your presentation may have, that's the one thing that we're going to synchronize. So we make it very simple for you. Like I said, on your Windows desktop, then sync just becomes a regular folder. We also have Mac, which I'm going to show you later on. And the cool thing about it is that you can interact with your files just like any other file in your operating system. And there's several advantages to that, which I'll cover in my demo later on. In the mobile app, one thing to recall as well is we are always very conscious of security, right? We hear pretty much every day that sites are getting hacked. There's new security issues in operating systems. Even in the Apple Watch, I was reading last night how many security issues they had in that particular device. So what we did is, in our mobile app, we've actually added capabilities for administrators to be able to do remote wipe on the device, right? So maybe one of your employees is traveling and they lost their iPad, they left it in the plane maybe, and they called you up, hey, I lost my device, can you clear the data? So you can do that without having to buy any additional software. So it's just a basic functionality that we provide out of the box. We also give you controls to determine how you want to, work with sync, maybe enable sync for particular use cases, maybe disable the ability for sync files to be exported via iTunes if that was a concern. And all the files that are synced down to the device are encrypted for additional security there. So that takes us through, again, a very high level. I think I covered maybe 6 or 7 new features that were added in the 5.0 release. There's many more, but time is just not there for us today. So let's quickly pivot to what have we done since 5.0. Now, like I said earlier, a lot of the things, actually all of the things that you're going to see right now are available in our cloud. And so what that means is that for those of you who are on-premises customers, all these things will come to you in the next on-prem release. So first, I'm going to start here and kick it off with communities. So with communities, now let me pass it on to David. And
Great.
David, take it away.
Great, thanks, Luis. And can you also give me control in a second?
Yep.
So the slide here is showing you a lot of the feedback that we got around some of the work we're doing around connections communities. Luis and I at the Connected conference in January got on stage and gave a whole presentation about community customization and the flexibility that will give community owners to personalize the community around their team's needs. And the feedback universally was very positive around the effectiveness of what community customization was going to bring to community owners. So what I'm going to do now is show you a demonstration of what we've now delivered to cloud and is available to your users. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen, and we'll do this through demonstration. And you should, Louis, do you see my screen?
It's coming. I see your mouse. Yep, I see it now.
All right. So here you can see I'm logged into Connections, and I'm looking at a Connections community. The first thing I want to show you is the effort we've done around shrinking down the Connections navigation to ensure that this left-hand column becomes usable. So previously, the Connections navigation would take up this entire left-hand column, which made it difficult for users who were trying to customize the community experience to have content on the left-hand side, or when navigating around the community to fully access all the navigation menus. So now as I go into parts of my community space, such as my community wiki, you can see the community wiki navigation with all the page structures are fully visible and above the screen fold of where the page ends. So the users more easily can find out the full navigation of the content that they're trying to get to. So this change to community navigation is now available on the cloud and is the default for all community owners. One of the items we're working on towards the second half of this year as intended deliverable is to also provide the ability to switch the navigation from a left column navigation to a top navigation. And that top navigation will further free up additional space, allowing for greater flexibility around organization of your community space, having full control over all the columns and layouts. So in addition to providing the collapsed navigation, we also introduced or remove the requirement of having widgets that are mandatory or required on the page. So previously, you would be required to have a tags widget on the left-hand side, a community description in the center column, and a members and important bookmarks on the right-hand side. You can see of those, the only one I have left on this community here is this members widget in the right, but there's no important bookmarks showing here on the right, and there's no tags widget here on the left. And I'm going to quickly grab this members widget, and because it's not required, I can move it around now. And so I can bring it into the center column. And if I go ahead and drop it, you'll notice that it's responsive. And so I'll have more photos that are displaying to fill the screen real estate, and they'll get bigger in size. And then I'm going to go over here and drag it to the left-hand column. And you'll see it shrinks down to fewer photos, and the size of the photos respect the size of the column. I'm also going to go in and use the new capability of changing titles. So on any widget on the community, I can now change the title I want in my community. So maybe instead of members, I want to call it team members, and go ahead and save that. And you'll see now I was able to move the community members widget from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, have it fit the real estate of the left-hand side through responsive design, and relabel it to fit the naming convention I want for my community. And of course, like every other widget, I can now also hide the team members widget if I wanted to. In addition to having the ability to change the title and move widgets around, we've not only made the members widget responsive, but we've made all of our widgets responsive. In the previous releases of Connections, you were stuck having all of your content applications, so files, bookmarks, ideation, in the center column. You can see here I now have the files widget on the left-hand column, and it's being responsive by showing me only the folders based on my widget settings that I defined for the files widget to prioritize folders. But if I drag it over here to the center column, you'll see it takes up the full center column, and it gives me additional capabilities to navigate between files and folders. And so based on what column I put it on, the set of capabilities will adjust to the available real estate. And again, complete flexibility of where I put the files widget throughout my layout. In addition to having the ability
and David, just to add to that, so one of the cool things too is like it's just as simple as drag and drop, right? There's no need to go into edit mode, publish the site, and go into a draft or whatever. It's just a very simple process to reorganize the page.
So you can see here as I'm moving things around, they're just dragging with my mouse and putting them somewhere else. And when they land, they're there. Also changing titles. So here, ideation was a title that a lot of people struggled with their community members. And so maybe I wanted to change ideation to ideas or team brainstorming. So I'm going to go ahead and change it. And again, nothing to publish. I just go ahead and save, and I have the updated title. So in addition to that, I'm also now offered a new set of community actions around layout. And so in addition to add apps, I have this new change layout option. And so I'm going to go ahead and change my layout. And you can see today available in the cloud, we have 3 options available to you. We have 2 columns, 3 columns, and 3 columns with banner. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to 3 columns with banner. And when I click on 3 columns with banner, you'll see my page refreshes with this new area at the top called, this is drag apps here. So that allows me to take any of my application widgets on the page and again drag them into that column. So here, this is the community description that I had used change title to rename to welcome because I didn't want it to say community description. And because it's not a required widget anymore, I can move it around, including into this new multi-column banner. And you'll see it will adjust its real estate to fit across both columns. I can drag multiple widgets here, and so maybe I want to put the members widget across as well. And I'll drop that, and you'll see again that goes across the 2 columns. And then once I get out of the banner space, I'm back to a 3-column layout below that. And so this again gives the community owner a lot of flexibility around the type of information they want to make prominent on their community site and leverage the full screen real estate effectively. And again, no publishing, so I'm going to easily just drag this back down. In fact, I'm going to put it over here in the right-hand column. And you'll see my community description is over here and out of the way. If I go back to my change layout, you'll notice that today in the Smart Cloud we have 3 layouts available, 2-column, 3-column, and 3-column with banner. And each of those layouts have this indicator of where the navigation is. That is in preparation for the additional navigation layouts that we're going to start to add later this year. And the additional navigation layouts, by having the navigation horizontal across the top, will free up this additional 3rd column to have layouts that provide 1-column layouts or full banners that span across the entire width of the screen. And so you'll see throughout the year through continuous delivery additional layouts surfacing that provide more flexibility to the community owner in the full layout of the screen. The other thing we've worked on is with this community description, let me make it bigger and bring it back to the top here. A lot of people wanted to use the rich text editor of the community description that was in the Edit Community dialog, but found it hard to lay out the content out of the context of the community page. And so now we've brought inline editing to our rich description right in the context of the community where you are that's going to be displayed. And so here I'm able to modify the widget, use the rich text editor, and see how it's going to feel right in the context of the page as I'm editing it. So then I can make my changes, go ahead and save and close, and I'm right back to having it in line without needing to go to the community edit panel. In addition to that, one of the features we're working to add intending to deliver in the second half of 2015 is a new widget that's called a rich text editing widget. So much like the community description, it will have the capability to bring rich text or HTML markup directly into your community, but as a widget that you can add multiple times throughout the community space. So here you can see I've added the rich text widget here. I called it Getting Started through the widget title. And I've provided custom navigation for the different audiences of my community, the sales team, the marketing team, and the managers, to help direct them towards customized content that helps them engage with my community. I also, if you drag down, have leveraged this rich text widget to provide interactive experience with other types of content that I have pulled from the web. So here I'm embedding a slide share directly into my rich text widget and able to allow the community members to navigate the slides of this slide deck directly from the context of my community. You also see I've embedded a YouTube video, and I'm able to have the community members play that video and even go into full screen mode of the video directly in line from my community without needing to navigate to another site. So the integration of this rich text widget with the custom layouts and the responsive design allows me really to customize the experience the community members see, how I want them to interact with my community. In addition, if I go into Community Actions and into Edit Community, you'll notice a few things. One of them is the names of my widgets, as I rename them, they're respected throughout the Connections experience. So here you can see I renamed the ideation to Team Brainstorming, and that shows up as the Settings tab as well. You also see advanced features on the community setting page, and one of the new features we've added is the ability to customize the permissions around email privileges. So by default, all the community members can email each other within the community or email the entire community. And as a community owner looking to drive a large community or public community, now has the option to change whether the members can email owners only, or maybe members cannot email anyone at all, but it's all the collaboration should happen within the community site. This is now a setting available to all community owners to choose. In addition, you'll notice that you can pick your start page. So you can change the landing page of the community from the overview site to another aspect of the community to help drive them towards something you're looking to direct traffic towards. And again, you'll notice that the titles of the different features, such as team brainstorming, show up again customized in my community edit experience, making it easy for me to identify the content that I'm looking to direct the user towards. The last thing I want to show you is that the search experience across connections, not just in communities, is really helping the user get back to content they're looking for. So right now I'm looking within my community, and if I want to start looking for launch material, I can just start typing, and without going to a full-page search result, you'll see content that I've previously visited is brought up right in the type ahead experience. And so here you can see 3 minutes ago I was in the EverLaunch community. You can look at the project launch overview wiki page I was just looking at, or the activity. And it can show when I was last there and get me right back to the content without needing to navigate and find it within a specific widget. And so I can very quickly get back to that activity we were just looking at an hour ago. Again, with the collapsed community navigation, I can easily pivot between the different views within activities and have that all available to me on the page. So with that, Luis, I'm going to transfer control back to you and let you take control to take people through some of a demonstration of some of the files experience that we're enhancing in the files offering.
Awesome, thank you. And you didn't hear me, but I was clapping all the way, so it's like this is very cool stuff. So thanks. All right, so a couple of things that I wanted to just cover here before I switch over to the demo. Let me just jump to, I think, this one. So by the way, for those of you who have been asking for the slides in the sidebar chat, once the replay is posted, the slides will be there. So one of the things that we did is we posted everything that Dave just demoed and that I'm going to demo as well are going to be part of the slides, so you can kind of consume it later as well. So I just did you a little favor there. All right, so I think I found my place here. So let's transition over to files. So like I was saying earlier, we have 2 new files offerings that is worth kind of calling out. So back in March, we released Connections Files on Cloud. And what this is consider it as taking the IBM Connections product and just turning on the files features and the supporting capabilities, right? So you'll have profiles, you'll have the homepage and the activity stream. And so that was released, like I said, in March for the cloud. It includes 1 terabyte for your own personal files. It also includes the ability to upload files up to 2 gigs of size, and the full desktop and mobile capabilities, right? So if you want to use it from your mobile device, you'll be able to do so. The mobile app is smart enough to know that you're only going to use files, so when you launch the app, it would only show you the capabilities that you're entitled to use. So we think this is going to be a great offering. It's like a great way to get organizations used to the system. Files is something that we've found all of our customers get very quickly. They can relate to files. They know how to work with files and collaborate on files. And so the hope, of course, is that once they're ready to evolve and go after the other social business capabilities, they would just go and do the upgrade to the full suite. So they can start from files, add connections, or add web meetings, or add verse if they want to, and so forth. One thing to note as well is that, again, we are very focused on enterprise security. And when it comes to compliance and controls, we want to give organizations a way to manage those requirements, right? So if you have requirements around financial regulations or health regulations or whatever the case may be, we have an add-on called Vantage for IBM Connections, and this add-on works for both our cloud and our on-premises system. So that will give you a fully secure, controlled environment for your organization to collaborate with files and also, of course, engage with external users. All right, so with that, let me transition over now to my desktop and walk you through some of the cool new things. And David, or somebody, if you can confirm you can see my screen.
I can.
Thank you, sir. All right, so this is the Connections homepage. Notice that this is pretty much just files. So on the top, I have my homepage, people, and then a quick way to jump into files. So when I'm looking at my homepage, let me just orient you a little bit here. On the left-hand side, we gave you some attention management indicators where you can see, there's 3 new things I need to focus on. So this could be, if it specifically mentions around files. Maybe somebody commented on your file and wants to drive your attention to a particular file. Then the notifications are responses to content that you have posted or things that you're following that you want to be alerted on. And then action required could be to-dos or things that you have to act upon. You can always save things. So for example, notice in the first item here, header, if this is a file that I want to focus on later, I can save it, and then that is added into my save view here, and I can come back to it when I need to. Not to be showing off here or anything, but I did notice that Facebook did add this save feature sometime after we did it. So I'm not saying that they copied us. I'm just saying we were first. The other thing is, as we keep going around here in the UI, notice on the right-hand side we have a recommendations panel here. So this is our social analytics, and what the system is doing here is helping me discover files or content that may be relevant for me. So by looking at your social graph, right? So who do you work for? Who are you working with? What projects are you working on? All that information gets correlated, and then the system starts giving you these recommendations here. And it tells you why, right? So for example, it tells you that this Berlina file is something that Mike is working on. So Mike is in my network, and I follow Mike, so it could be something that I may be interested in. In this case, I'm not really that interested, so I'm just going to get rid of it, and then I can keep going down the list here. All right, so this is, again, one of the files. Let's go back to the middle portion of the screen here. I have a quick way to catch up with all the new contents. I can see who's uploading what, who's commenting on what, etc. One of the things that I want to do, I'm going to jump straight to the top here and start typing in here a file. Notice that here we have our new search capability, right? So just like David was showing you from the community, our global search gives you type-ahead search for content that you've interacted with. So I'm going to jump into this file, which I viewed yesterday. Yep, this is the one that I want. And so once we're here in the file details page, I can see all the comments that are going on. I can lock this file, so think of it as checking out the file so nobody else can edit it. So while it's locked, I can work with it. Maybe I'm going to go offline. So in fact, let's do it right now. I'm going to check out this file, and then I'm going to add this file to my sync so that it's replicated onto my desktop, and that way I can work with it while I'm offline, and there won't be any conflicts when I come back. When I preview the file, of course, I can preview files without having to download, so I can quickly flip through all the slides or pages that the document has. And the nice thing about this is that I can quickly review the file and comments that have been added. So, for example, as I flip through slide 2 or 3 or 4, and there's something I don't like, I can just say here, slide 4, please change A to B or whatever the case may be, right? So you kind of get the sense here. So very easy to review files. Again, no need to download, of course, right? It's all done in line. Notice to the edit button. So if I want to edit the file, I can also edit it in line. This does require the docs add-on. So if you want to edit documents, you do need to get docs. But for viewing files, that's just included out of the box. So let me just exit out of that. And I'm going to jump into my files on the left-hand side. And then in the files, we have this new thumbnail view. This is actually available in 5.0, but one of the things that we've done since 5.0 is the ability to now, like I said, bring on this new viewer that I was just showing you earlier, right? So as I click on any file, the new viewer comes in line, in place. I can comment. I can review all the details about this file, who has downloaded it, the tags. I can see who the file has been shared with. Maybe I want to add somebody, so let me go ahead and add our super awesome Heather Reeds. So, of course, if I could type correctly, that will work. And then I could see all the version history as well, right? So if I want to see a version or restore a particular version, I could do so as well from here. So all those inline actions are available for you. And when you're done, you're back to where you left off. In the bottom, notice that we have 1 terabyte available, so I'm not lying. It's all there for you. I still have plenty of space left since I haven't uploaded much in this demo server. And here, if you don't like this thumbnail view for whatever reason, you can always go back to the list view here. And if needed, you can always customize this. I find that people like to know which files are locked. They want to know the current version number, and maybe they don't care about the number of downloads, right? So you can kind of pick and choose which columns you want. And then right there, now you can see that the first file has been locked. That's the one that I did earlier. And you have those visual indicators right there. I'm more of a visual guy, so I'm just going to go back to the thumbnail grid here. Now, I mentioned docs earlier, so like I said, if you buy the docs add-on, then you get the additional capability to edit files through the web browser, right, without having to depend on anything else. So as I create a new document here, I'm just going to say Social Biz UG. I have the power to control if others want to share these files, which is pretty nice, right, because sometimes if you send a file via email, there's no really good way to control if that other person forwards your email or what happens to that email, right? So I remain in control as to the security of the file. And then I can also determine if this file is going to contain confidential content. So if it is, I'm just going to uncheck it so that it's not visible to external people. So you can do it either way. The document gets created, and then I'm launched, of course, into the docs editor.
Hello? We seem to have lost somebody.
It looks like Luis cut out. So we may need to hold 1 minute for him to join back.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulties. Please just bear with us. I'm trying to update the chat room at the same time, so I'm not the greatest at multitasking. Let's see.
If there's a specific question we can answer now while waiting for Luis to call back, maybe we can answer a question.
Absolutely. 1 second. So, yeah, so this one, actually this one came in earlier from Rita. The thing that Louise had mentioned, that Facebook might have, been looking over our shoulder, what exactly was that? What was he referring to?
That's a good question. I don't know what he was referring to. I would want Luis to, I guess, speak to that one, unless Renee or Michelle has.
That's all right. So then how do we start a trial?
Sure. Renee, do you want to answer the trial one, or should I?
I jump in. This is Eric speaking.
Oh, sure.
Sure. Easiest to start a trial is, and I'm going to post the links in the chat room, is to go to IBM Cloud.
Do not live in Puerto Rico, because if you live in Puerto Rico, you lose.
This is bad. Hey, Luis, thanks for coming back. I look like you lost power. So I was just answering. Someone asked, we're answering the question how to access the trial, and I was just going to I'll post it in the chat, but just say that you can get to the trial right now by going to ibmcloud.com/social, and I will put that in the chat right now. So take it away.
Excellent. Yeah.
Thanks, Eric.
And Luis, are you back?
I am, yes, but I lost the web meeting, so I'm trying to log into that again.
Okay.
Luis, while you're logging back in, there was a first question that I couldn't answer about what you were meaning by Facebook looking over our shoulders.
Someone actually answered that in chat. Is where did I see that? Is how save worked
on the news feed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so Facebook, I think it was 2 weeks ago. So Facebook, I forget how it is, but in the news feed in Facebook, they now let you save items so you can view later. I don't know off the top, but they just added it recently.
Oh, excellent. All right, let's see. Are you back yet?
I am.
Okay, give me just 1 second to find you. There you are. And you are now the presenter. You may need our slides reloaded as well, so you may need to move the slides forward.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to have to skip, I guess, a couple of things to the demo because I'm running out of time. So let's get back here. Yep. So where did I lose you guys? I think I was doing docs, right?
Yep. The document was loading.
So the document loaded, and I said how cool and how awesome it was, and so we can talk about that later. A couple other things. So notice that you can view files by many different filters, right? So you can view files shared with you or by you. I like to do the shared by me a lot because sometimes I find a document that I share with David or Renee, and I forget who the original author is, but at least I know I shared it, so I can always kind of go back there. When I go into Greenwell files, that would just bring me to all the files within my organization. And so this is a way to just discover what people are working on. Looks like we have a couple of cars or things that are happening there. And the other thing is people like to search by people, right? So maybe I know Suzanne has an amazing presentation, so let me just quickly jump to Suzanne. I can go into the top right and select files belonging to. I think Suzanne is Christina in this system, so I'm going to just find Christina. There she is, and then that brings me to all the files that she has. Pretty straightforward. The other thing is I can, of course, create folders here. So if I go into one of the folders on the left-hand side, one of them is called Team Communications. This folder is currently empty, so let's go ahead pretty quickly and upload a new document. And the way that I do that is as simple as drag and drop, right? So you can take a file from your desktop, drag and drop into the browser. You can do multiple. I'm trying to find a document that's not confidential. One sec. I should have done this right there. Just two. Okay. So I can take just 2 documents from my desktop, upload them into the system, and then the system, of course, detects that that's an upload. And a couple of things that I want to mention. So again, notice that I have the control to specify, if they can reshare the files forward. I can also decide to encrypt the files on the server. If I wanted some additional security, I would just add my tags or keywords so I could find that document later, and off I go. So pretty straightforward and pretty easy to work with. One of the other things that I wanted to close on here before switching over to my Mac, if I go into one of the files, let's say this one, this Austin meeting, if I wanted to share with an external user, you would just do that directly from the viewer, right? So as the viewer comes up, you can comment like I was mentioning before, and if you want to add an editor or a reader, and that person is external, you could do Alan@constellation.com, and you add the person, and you're done, right? So pretty straightforward to do it from here. Now, as I minimize my browser, let me go over to my Mac. Just wanted to show you the Mac plugin. So we released the Mac plugin last year. So that's now available. So notice on the top, I have my Mac plugin here. I have two sites that I connect to. Of course, I connect to Cloud and W3, which is our internal site. And one of the advantages of the plugin here is that so all the files are stored in a local folder, right, in this Cloud Sync folder. So I can do a couple of things. I can right-click on the file, select IBM Connections, and that brings me to an interface where I can lock the file. So, for example, I'm going to lock it so nobody else edits this file. Thank you. I can look at all the versions of the file. I can review the metadata. So maybe I want to change the description, change the tag. I can review how many likes and comments the file has. And more importantly, one of the more powerful capabilities is the ability to share right from here, right? So without opening a browser, without having to log in, without having to find the file, right? So we've taken all those steps that happen, 5, 6, 7 steps, and reduced it to just a single step directly from your desktop. And this works both on Mac and Windows. So now if I want to share with somebody, I'm going to say my favorite global PM, Von Slavens. She comes up, and voila, pretty straightforward. A couple of other things that I wanted to highlight that we've added recently to the Mac plugin. If you ever want to, suspend syncing because you're in a super, super low bandwidth place, maybe in, I don't know, some other country, Puerto Rico maybe, apparently, you can go into the preference section and suspend the sync, right? So you can suspend and resume whenever you want to. You can also control which files, extensions, for example, you want to sync. So maybe you don't want to sync everything that you put there. You only want to sync PowerPoint files or document files. I don't know. You have the power to control that. And if you're adventurous, we have enable beta features capability. So we're now updating our desktop plugins every month. So every month we have new features. Some of them are available to all users. Some of them are only available to beta users. So if you want to be a beta user and be cool and be, experimenting and using new features, go ahead and enable this checkbox and give us your feedback. All right, and so totally running out of time. So let me just jump into Windows here. One of the things that we did with Windows last week, actually, is we added a brand new Outlook plugin to support our cloud infrastructure. So this is Outlook on my Windows, and you're going to ask, what about Outlook on the Mac? Well, Outlook on the Mac does not support extensions, so take it up with Microsoft. I think Microsoft is going to fix it next year, I heard, but anyway. So this is Windows only. So here's, for example, one of my car rental statements. You could do a bunch of things. For example, take the email and completely upload it to Connections if you wanted to, maybe for archiving reasons or whatever the case may be. Or maybe you only want to take the attachment, right? So you can take the attachment, again, for archiving or expense reporting, and drag and drop into Connections, and off you go. One of my favorite capabilities here is the ability to write a brand new document, right? So as I write a new email, I can bring up the sidebar and then drag and drop links to the file directly into the email, right? So take this file, drag and drop, and I'm not attaching it. I'm just sending a link to the file, right? So the recipient can get the email without having to send the 40 megabytes or whatever over the wire. With the Outlook plugin, I can also keep up to date with what's happening in my network. So, for example, I can look at all the status updates, and I can filter this depending on what I want to focus on, right? So if I only want to focus on files, I can start unchecking things, like, for example, let's get rid of forums, let's get rid of communities, let's get rid of activities, and you can see how the activity stream is filtering here. And if I want to respond and interact with people, I can do it right in place. In fact, if I want to, I can update my status right from here. And that's it. Cool Not cool crowd, cool crowd. And off it goes. So pretty straightforward. There's a bunch of new features there. So if you're using Outlook for whatever reason, go ahead and download this plugin from our catalog. It's, again, available at no extra cost for our customers. All right. And then wanted to close with some of the cool new admin capabilities that we've added. It's hard to say that admin features are cool, but I know for administrators, they do like these features. So notice that I'm back in the browser. I'm logged in as one of the admins, so I'm just going to go into Manage Organization. Okay. And then we've recently added this Connections Mobile App Management section to our admin UI. So I can come in here, and as an administrator, I now have full control of how I want our users to experience the mobile app. So, for example, on the right-hand side, maybe I want all users to always go to Files first. Well, you can do it. You can say default app within, default module within the app is going to be Files. And then like I said before, you can turn off item sharing. You can turn off printing if you're concerned about printing. You can turn off push notifications. I don't know why you would do that, but you can turn off geolocation. We've heard from customers in Europe that geolocation, it could be a privacy issue, so, you can turn that off. And then when it comes to files, notice that you can do a couple of things, right? You can disable downloads. Maybe you don't want people to be downloading, just interacting with those documents while online. And then you can disable file sync. You can disable sharing with others, etc. So a bunch of controls. You can get as granular as you want here. The other thing that you can do as well is if you go into organization extensions, we've added some very easy ways for administrators to provide custom actions into files. So, for example, I'm going to add an extension, and let's say that we want to do something simple like, convert a file to an e-learning course, right? There's a bunch of APIs out there for that. So for the files service, I'm going to create something called convert to e-learning. The icon is going to be something, and then the URL, this could be like a URL to your service, right? So this could be convert to e-learning, and then it's going to be file ID. Something like that, pretty straightforward. You get the idea, right? So this could be any URL to any service, to any API in the world, and it allows you to do very quick and fast integrations without having to kind of do hacking into the UI or anything like that. And I'm not going to get into it, but notice too there's a file download history for administrators who want to keep track of file downloads and who's doing what within the system. That's also available there. So I guess I'll take a breath because I went through that very fast, but I didn't want to leave a couple of minutes for questions here. So I guess Steve, let's take it up for questions.
Absolutely. And before I get into that, I just do want to say, every time I see Connections, I'm just so impressed. It's so cool. So anyway, we do have a few good questions here. So let me start at the top. Let's see. Is the theme that you use for the demo, is that available for customers?
Yeah, David, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So you'll notice that when you log into your Smart Cloud site for your organization, the default theme is still the traditional black background that you see today. But if you go into the organization administrative settings, there's a theme picker in there, and it's been added as an option. And so you can switch your org's theme over from the one that you default to the blue, more verse-like theme through your org admin settings.
Okay. Here's one that I rather like because I use tags a lot. Can I tag other people's files?
So if you have edit access to the file, then you can apply tags to it. But if you're a reader, you cannot tag a file that you only have read access to.
Okay. All right. This is a bit more of a technical question. If I change a title, what will happen after switching UI language?
So that one is, I'm assuming, referring to the community overview page where we showed changing title.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. The design decision we made on that is that the community owners are single language and keeping the experience simple. When they change the title from a default title to a custom title, the title will be displayed in the language they type in. So at this point, there's no facility for uploading resource bundles for alternate languages on community titles.
Okay. Let's see. Will externals, I guess that means people like maybe off-premise, will externals get access to IBM Docs or just the viewer?
At this point in time, guest users, if you refer to, there's two types of external users. I invite someone external from my org to come in. If that person external is a paid subscriber who pays for Docs, then they would be able to use Docs. If they're a guest user to SmartCloud, meaning they're signed up with a guest account, then they would not have access to Docs today. They would be able to use the file, see the file and view the file and download the file, but not edit it through Docs.
Okay. And we are getting close on time. Let me just try one or two more. Nested folders. Is there any update on the time frame?
The famous question, I guess. Yes. So one of the things that David and I talked about at Connected earlier this year was we were targeting second half. So what's going to happen here is, as usual, you'll see that coming in the cloud first, and then in the on-premises later. So for both, right now, both cloud and on-premises are targeted for second half. I don't have any more specific than that. So for now, we'll just keep the Connected time projection.
All right. All right, I'm going to wrap it up with just one last one. When dragging and dropping from Notes to Connections widget, did you add the ability to tag files?
I think when you drag and drop, the tag dialog doesn't come up, but it comes up when you do the edit mode, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe I'll have to follow up on that one.
Okay, got it. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry, but that's all the time we have. I do want to say that I went to several sessions on Connections at Connected last year in Florida, and it is so cool. I never get tired of looking at it. So anyway, I'd like to give my thanks to LouisBenitez, David Brooks, Eric Silva, and Michelle Ulrich for a really great webcast. Very well done, everyone. Now, as I said at the beginning, a recording of this webcast will be available on the socialbizug.org website just as soon as I can get it edited and posted. So please check back to the site for a blog post with the replay in it. So thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for being a member of our community. Please take care. Goodbye, everyone.